All right, so before I go any further with this, I thought just in case anybody might like to see something like this, because I know I like to watch unboxings for whatever reason. Earlier today, I quite enjoyed watching Dave Gardner's Ice Nuts unboxing video. And so I thought I would show actually today I finally got to the print shop and got a little something printed on my own. I was going back and forth between getting the PC inside the Crease game and getting the cards and dice. And obviously, well, not there aren't really dice in it. I'll probably find a way to work dice into it somehow if it is possible. I don't really know the game well enough yet to state either way, but obviously I've made my choice. And because this cost me $60, actually, there is no going back now. And before you think $60, and that's about the Korean equivalent of it, but these are 240 milligram thick. They're quite I think that's, I don't know if I'm using the correct term. I don't know, MG something. Anyway, this is the thickest that they had there on offer. And I didn't get the glossy. I don't really like the glossy. And this actually comes from experience. Basically, I took two cards. My shootout facts, and again, this is just sort of, I guess, general advice as well. I think, just my 2 cents for what it's worth for people who are looking to play cards and dice offline. And I didn't turn on the air conditioner because I don't want this video to be too long, and so I thought I'd be able to get through it quickly and go back into the other room where it's nice and cool, where I can continue cutting these, and while listening to some Peter Miller and Dave Gardner and P-Jet and Alan Shaw and so on. Is what was I saying again? Is I yeah, the matted versus, I don't know if this is called matted or not. Actually, I feel like some techie could be, you're wrong. Okay, well, whatever this is, the non-glossy finish, I like it. I find it's a little easier to shuffle the cards this way. And so, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I really like my shootout facts, and they're getting a little older now. So when I show them to you now, the justice isn't really done. I would expect this kind of wear and tear on any card, after multiple projects. And actually, the little envelope that I keep them in just ripped, and it's been ripping for a while. So like these are pretty, like I really like these as well. And but these, they're a little glossier and they're a bit stickier is not the right word for it, but that is kind of what it is. So whereas my cards, my facts for Blue Zone hockey, if anything, they're a little slippery, which probably would bother some people because opinions are like belly buttons. Everyone has one. But for what it's worth, just, going on experience now that I have with a variety of these games, I like the non-glossy and just a good thick and quality print finish like that. I've seen them with the rounded corners, and I like that too. I think it looks nice. I'm probably not going to bother manually rounding these, like I've seen with some others. I think actually, if you get them shipped, like printed and shipped to you, I think that's probably one advantage, one benefit of that. But anyway, I'm not a perfect cutter. I am using a line cutter. It's a cheap little one. And so this is what I've got done so far. It's like just about 2 pages. And then suddenly I had this light bulb moment where I thought, before I cut all of these, maybe I'll share them on camera. So I do. I have in this here file folder, I have the rest of them. Hopefully I have everything all correct. Again, I had to go to a shop and communicate in a language that, while I'm familiar with dealing with them and my survival Korean's kind of okay, it's not where it should be given the amount of time that I've been here. I shamefully admit that. And so, and I mean, even if it were better, still it's not really something that you necessarily have to use every day unless you're working in the industry. So the point being that, I had to communicate in a language that wasn't my first, and I'm quite satisfied. If you look at a full page of these, actually, so I don't know if I can angle it to the light there so you can see where the black line, where these lines here actually come through. And I must say too, so I've received, again, because I've gotten PDFs, like player card PDFs and other FAC card PDFs as well, or FAT cards for a variety of games now. I'd really rank these about, not like in terms of like, not just for the quality of the card itself, but easy to cut. When the PDF file itself, like they get it, and so what you're off, the company, the maker, whatever, the creator, they get it, and so you're given very easy to cut. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but I know, for instance, there were some player cards from a set for another hockey game that I got, where right here, the dividing lines, they were in sort of a light, thin gray color. And I found that, especially I was cutting them in the evening, that's when I have time to do it. And so under the light in the living room, it was really kind of hard to see this, silvery gray. It didn't show up. These are ridiculously easy to cut, super easy to cut. So I'm quite impressed with the practicality of the PDF file itself. And I guess I can zoom out there a little bit as well. That's probably a little too much zoom. I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? There we go. Maybe even up just a little more. Let's see. Okay, there, that looks about good. So now I can move these vertically. Anyway, so again, that's what a full page looks like, and it's going to be quite easy to cut. And when it does, you can see there, it's not going to, where the line is, again, if you can't see that through the light, it's not going to eat into the other, like the ink on the other side or anything like that. Because I know actually when I was about to get them to, because again, these weren't cheap, so I sensed the reluctance to do it. We did a test print, as I pretty much always do anyway. We printed a test page first and checked it out to see that it would go, likely go well and work well. This looks a bit smallish. I'm not sure, Alan, if this is the size timer that you use. I'm going to at least try it because I do actually appreciate the convenience of having everything all on one page. And it's become kind of a trend for me to laminate pages and use marker instead of moving pawns around. I'm not sure if it's something that I'll continue doing long term, but recently it's been a thing I've been trying, and so far so good. So, yeah. I guess if I were to comment on this a little more, I don't know if the intimidation factor has to be bigger than the clock itself. It would seem to me to be a little more practical, and probably I could do something like this and like a spreadsheet, and if I can do it, anyone can. I think this could be reduced. Maybe, again, because I've not really played the game much yet, I could be completely overlooking something. There could be something that if you're an experienced player of this game, you're sitting there and you're looking at this and you know something that I don't know that hopefully I'll find out before long. But, and then the injury chart as well, which, interesting. So 1 to 38, that makes sense given how the game things are enumerated. One thing that I didn't get, that I didn't find out about until after the fact, is the penalty chart actually for the players. Again, it was in a different file, and I went there in their final hour before closing, and I thought I had everything printed that I needed until I got home and sat down, of course, and then I saw, okay, apparently when I play with this particular set, I'm going to have to look to a separate page that I don't have printed yet just to see specifics on certain penalties. But, so this is the timer, and again, I got this laminated. I should mention as well, I mean, it's something. They threw it in for free. They threw this and some other black and white prints like the instruction book and things like that. They threw it in for free because I threw $60 to get the season printed and to get the facts printed as well. And honestly, I did the math as well, and I say $60 is like close to Yukmanon Korean, Oman, Chutan, Gubegwan. But it's so, in order for me to get it shipped, like, you can look at the price online, but again, it's in US dollars. And then in order for me to get it shipped, it would have been more expensive. I probably saved 20 or $30 by doing this. So I should say as well, kudos to Inside Sports Games for making this affordable enough so that it justifies the PDFs were just cheap enough, just nominal, or not nominal is not the right word, just minimal enough, just negligible sounds too negative. But the cost was just reasonable enough, I guess, more than reasonable, that again, the cost to print on top of it wasn't too much. I talked about that for at least one other game, and actually, that's probably a spot for me to segue into. There's the book underneath. Not much to see there. I just went black and white with it because actually this book is just in black and white. And of course, I timed these brilliantly. There's a truck coming down the street that I'm on right now to collect recycling. So, big noisy truck there. So this is the 60-61 season, and this goes in line with a plan actually that I had for this year and for a project that I wanted to do with another game. But it's a game that they don't make their core game available in PDF, and for some reason it's sort of evaded me that Inside the Crease Hockey is available in PDF. So again, my situation that I'm in, I'm on another continent, and I've talked about the address thing before, and so it's just not really practical for me. If you're a game designer, creator, producer, whatever, and your game isn't available in PDF, I'm probably not going to play it. Probably not going to feature it here. But this one is, I went with black and white, actually not to save money, but there is a specific reason that I wanted these cards in black and white, and I'm not going to reveal it now. I will get into it in a future video. It might not be in the near future. I said that before with Inside the Crease, of course, when I was playing through the computer game for it, but I wanted these cards purposefully printed in black and white. And also similar to my Hockey Bones cards, I might actually, and again, kudos, very easy to see, very easy to cut. Again, a couple of other hockey games. I mean, I managed it, but maybe not without something like this, taking pencil and sort of tracing my own lines and stuff like that. I've had to really work with some PDF files. So when you make your PDF and the lines are very discernible, very easy there to see and cut. Of course, these are perforated, not perforated. Well, yeah, they're dotted, they're perforated, dotted, perforated. Anyway, I mean, it's not actually perforated in that I can't, peel or tear there, but you get the idea, I hope. But that being said, probably me being me, using the Korean business card pocket holders, I'm probably going to trim that down even further. I was actually going to see about getting them to reduce the card size and reduce the font size and try to trim that to 80 or 90% before printing it. But I actually brought a card pocket with me, a business card, so that I could compare it. And I think that if I cut not here, but here afterwards, which will also be easy enough. I'm experienced doing it. I can use this as well to guide me across here. I'm not as worried about the statistical information, though. Having read the rules, it could come into account or effect for awarding assist and things like that. But anyway, I have an idea that I want to do with this season, with the 60-61 season, and now I have the game for it. I have the engine for it, and I'm quite happy. And I was quite impressed as well with the PC edition of this game. I can understand why Dave Gardner really likes it, why he seems actually pretty content just to play it, just to plug in and play. He has a number of offline hockey games, and that's sort of his go-to plug in and play hockey game, I think, or one of them. And I was considering doing that as well, having played the computer game, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I guess I'm a cards and dice, or in this case, cards and more cards kind of player. It is what I genuinely prefer, and so Oli, if you hear this, credit to you as well. He left a comment where he talked a little bit about that, and I sort of came to the defense of this particular, because the computer edition of the PC whatever edition of this is very much a cards and dice port. Yes, it reduces playing time. It increases the speed of getting through things. It also highlights certain players, it cuts down on some of the mental. I can understand tired at the end of the day. I might still end up buying it, actually. Basically, it came down to, $30 plus whatever the season costs, so another $40 US to getting that, or another $60 Korean, and just getting the cards and dice for I keep saying cards and dice, getting all the appropriate cards for the same season. So 60-61, I have it. I've talked about this year before, and I'm quite eager and curious to get a project underway and on the go with this. But with that being said, I also decided that 2 is really the ideal number for me, and I'm also in no hurry to get through a couple of projects that I'm currently enjoying. But again, I like making and uploading content that I like to see myself, and that I don't know if I like to hear myself, but that's, a story for another time. But I just, so I might as well actually go through them, since if you've made it to this point, you're like, show somebody other than Boston. So this is 60-61, so it's just the original 6. And again, I don't want to, mess around with these too much until I cut them. But Alan Johnson, it was interesting because he was top, I want to say 5 Detroit in scoring that season. He's from somewhere in Canada, as I think the entire league was in 61. And really, really good for a few years, and then he ended up playing in pro leagues until the early 70s. Found that out looking at his stuff in Hockey Reference, what they have there for him. And it's just interesting sometimes, curiosities, players who come in, look pretty remarkable, look pretty outstanding. He wasn't, when he disappeared from the NHL a year or two later, he wasn't exactly an old guy or anything like that. Played into the early 70s, but I don't know, some guys, again, because I don't know enough, it could have been that he had an injury at some point in his career, and though he rehabilitated from it enough to play hockey again, medical science and where it was at 50, 60 years ago, I think, in the case of some guys, probably some players, just a theory I have, no, not a whole lot in the way of proof one way or another, but maybe he just couldn't play NHL hockey anymore. It's pretty hard for anyone, including NHL players, active NHL players, to be able to do consistently, year after year at any point. So, yes, we got Detroit. And again, I didn't want the team colors, so I'm probably already hinting at the reason why I would not want team colors. But I'll leave a little to the imagination there. Perhaps you can figure it out. There's Bobby Rousseau, and yeah. So let's see here. But it's not Montreal gunning for 6 in a row, though. That would be also, I think, a lot of fun to do actually at some point as well. Have Montreal. So I have a couple of ideas that I can do with the 61 cards. And if you're a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, I might as well show the Toronto cards as well. There's little to see there. That's not true. Although Dave Keon, again, because I was going through on Hockey Reference, and so it was kind of a down year offensively for Keon. Again, who knows? Maybe he was playing with a broken something, a broken appendage connected to a broken limb, to a, he was just a bad game of operation that season. And there you have it. And with the goalies as well, I saw one other thing, I guess, real quickly. This is already longer than it needs to be, but I saw, for what it's worth, I saw there's a separate file for the 61 season and the goalies, and I saw it, and I didn't recognize some of the letters here that they have in the center. It's just not on my radar yet as to why that would. And I know there was some goalie modification. I think it's for more differentiation. It's for home and away. Long story short, or short story long in this case, I guess, as it is. I think I'm just going to go basic in the beginning. I'm just going to, even if there is little differentiation from one goalie to the next, and I could be wrong about that. I hear things and I repeat them, and sometimes in between, hearing them and repeating them, they come out differently. It's the telephone game, so I could be wrong about that. And but anyway, I'm quite looking forward to this. As I say, I don't think there's very much else to see here. I'm pretty sure this is just the instructions and the laminated clock timer. So, a few score sheets, I guess, which I tried to print double-sided, and they came out. It's just a one-page file, and they came out single-sided. And again, they were getting ready to close, and I'm just like, I don't know enough. I don't want to bother. So, because probably I look at something like this and I'm like, I really like it, but I probably will revert to my trusty score sheet that originally apparently was made for Paradise Hockey, though I think it's a pretty universal one. And so I don't see why I couldn't use it for something. It depends. I mean, if you want to keep advanced stats, or if you want to be a little more meticulous with your stat keeping, you might want something like this, but I'm pretty content just to you get goals, assists, shots, penalty minutes, and also with enough room on the score sheet. I guess I might as well take that out. I'm going to staple it here shortly. What was I saying though? Yeah, with enough room on the score sheet that is that within arm's reach? Yes, it is. So with enough room on the score sheet as well, aside from the names, and this is my other Lammy, that you can. Sometimes I'll put little information, like if the guy gets injured, I'll make a little note, an asterisk type note of it. If the goalie makes a spectacular save, I'll put like a little dot above their goalie name, and that's how I keep track of that. And there's also a spot down here. It says game notes and injuries and special teams goals. I kind of ignore that and just have my own messy little system that I do that works for me. But anyway, so this is me waxing, and yes, I'm reminded of Jason's video earlier where he was talking about fast drive football and just talking about what makes cards and dice games, tabletop games, spectacular. And so before I went any further with cutting, I was just kind of really in the mood. And so back to Peter Miller's full game between Detroit and Pittsburgh, I go. Alan Shaw, probably going to hit you up later as well as I'm cutting. I mean, I'm not a fast cutter, you know. If I'm anything when it comes to cutting it slow. And so probably I will get through a fair bit of content inside the crease related as I'm going through these and cutting these out. So again, because this is the kind of thing that I get curious to check out myself, I thought that I would, make it available for anyone who, poor thing, might be like me at all, with and for something like this. So again, back to cutting I go. Thanks for any time, any consideration that you give to anything like this. Hopefully you got something out of it. If so, and cheers, thanks. Bye for now.